Yep. Ding ding, let's go. Men, my fellow men, my fellow brothers, partners in crime and in saving. Just my man. The real question for you guys is, how well are you within your soul? Because as I'm working more in niching down, getting better and better at marketing what it is that I can provide that is different and most valuable and most needed, right, in the marketplace, I'm thinking to myself, well, there's plenty of spirituality stuff out there. There's plenty of self-improvement stuff out there. There's plenty of man mindset out there. But in parceling out and sifting through all of these things, all of these categories, all of these niches, there doesn't seem to be any content relating to a man who's already essentially a man, but is not balanced in the sense of getting their heart and soul right. And there is some content out there that's like right in there, right in that kind of sub-niche, but it's either too spiritual, too religious, or too red pill. We'll call it what it is. And I've gotten enough experience in these worlds that are seemingly contrasting, where putting in hard work, I'm referencing me working in schools for 11 plus years, since 2014, where I get the hardcore masculine of just making stuff happen, making the kids follow the directions and stay in line and stay orderly. And then I also experience the intense feminine, which is necessary and wholesome chaos, which is creativity, spontaneity, fun, right? Just the goofiness of play. And play in and of itself is both masculine and feminine in the sense of challenge, yet fun, right? There can be strategy, but there can also be finesse and style, right? So, honestly, if I was more into the schooling life, I would probably be something like a sport psychologist, because there's just so much beauty and glory involved in sports, where it's not just biff bam go get 'em. There's style, there's creativity, so it's really cool. But with this video mainly being about men who are bona fide, solid, just men, but are imbalanced in the sense of not really prioritizing the more arguably feminine, energetically, the feminine stuff, the internal stuff, meditation, contemplation, body exercise that's not just building muscle, not just working out, but stretching, mobility, breath work, and body work in the spiritual sense. So it's interesting how it's interesting and contradictory how I, as a man, approached my early adulthood from a feminine approach, working with the kids, where I was really into the the creativity, the spontaneity, the fun chaos of it all. Just being surrounded by kids and being surrounded by women, co-workers, and just, call it what it is, having a very feminine upbringing, call it for what it is, and then bringing the true blue manhood, the up for challenge, the just chipping away at life and becoming more and more sturdy and solid and dependable and having more integrity and all those good things. Interesting how as a man that came second, but what really matters is the balance. The balance of the masculine and feminine. As a man, as a woman, regardless, we all need balance, but this is talk for men here. Clearly. I'm probably going to put the word man or men in the title. Bada boom. So, being too masculine is an imbalance. And the way that I like to think about it is in terms of just banter, in terms of your feeling, your heart and soul, your gut, your just embodied feeling of aliveness. If you know anything about the Myers-Briggs personality test, I'm an INFP, so I'm definitely like a feeling type of person. Like, that's my design. And whatever your personality is, that gives you an advantage. So this is my advantage that I'm offering. This is my vantage point that I'm offering to the people. There you go. So, the fact that, like, the way that I like to think about it is just like, if I'm in conversation with someone, or I'm just playing out the conversation in my head, and I'm able to, like, say the things that I really want to say. Because, in real, actual, face-to-face conversation, you do want to give somebody respect, patience, the benefit of the doubt, at least for a little while. Obviously, if they're being a legitimate asshole, or if they're being, unsafe, then you gotta make some moves. But, okay, so it's like, if somebody's in conversation with me and they're talking about, like, how much money they're making, what bitches they're pulling, the kind of stuff that they're able to buy, the stuff that they have, how high up they are in their company, or how they've built up their own company, or how many clients they have, et cetera, et cetera. And if they're talking to me in such a way where they're saying, like, that's the pinnacle, that's essentially what is defining them, that's what makes them great as a man, it's so it's cool, like, it's legitimately cool that, like, you have things that you've accomplished, and that you have this level of, like, financial and physical autonomy. But how alive are you? How well are you within your soul? That's what I really care about. I've said this in another video, or maybe not. Maybe it was just in my writing. But this concept of this is how I perceive things, which is absolutely crazy. But again, one of many advantages of having the personality that I do and living the life that I have, right? I give you, the audience, vantage points. So it's interesting how I view life not by age. I don't care how old you are. And, to expand and add to the previous conversation, I don't care how old you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what you have. Like, I don't care what your body count is. I don't care how good you look. I don't care how good your girlfriend or your wife looks. What I care about because I'm very selective with who I spend my time with, who I call a friend, who I bring into my inner circle. Like, that's a big deal. So, I don't care about all that stuff. What I care about is, how alive are you? Are you a joy to be around? Like, are you good vibes, not in the classic sense, like, oh, you're chill, but are you good vibes in the sense of you bring life to the table? That's what I care about. And, you know, if you're making 6, 7 plus figures and you're just like a heady drag, you know, you're dressed as a man, but you're actually a woman. No, if you're just like boring, if you've just got all head and no heart, like, yeah, you may be resourceful, and we may utilize each other's services, we may be of mutual help, assistance, and benefit, but, like, beyond that, like, you're an acquaintance. You're not in my inner circle. I'm not gonna, like, chill with you. And honestly, as a man, we should all have those standards of, like, you know, oh, well, you know, this guy made me 10K last month. Like, maybe I should invite him to the, you know, the beach with the other boys. And then you get to the beach, and the dude's a total snooze fest. And it's bringing down the vibe of the entire tribe. Like, that type of stuff. Where it's like, you messed up. You didn't hold that boundary, have those standards. You were in it for the, you know, whether or not you were in it for the money or for the whatever, right? It was under a guise, a falseness. You weren't in it for the heart and soul. Just to make it simple. And that's another thing. Guys, intellect heavy humans have an unhealthy tendency to feel like it's not worth it unless I can be involved in many moving parts, unless it's like this multi-step process where I'm just like chugging along, like all along the way, like, oh man, like look how complicated this is, like I'm doing it, I'm making it happen, yeah. And to not see value in simplicity, that's a big mistake that men can make. And this goes with the whole inner aspect, right? The inner metaphysical aspect of life, which is, hey, you want to feel like a real man? Sit down, lie down, and that's your job, right? For the next 30, 40 plus minutes. Like, can you go 30 minutes just sitting down, laying down, and like that's your job? And it's one of these things where, do you have the desire to develop this simplicity, this clarity within yourself, so that the real I, the heart and soul, the real I can emerge, right? Isn't that wild how through doing seemingly nothing, you're actually doing the best thing that you can ever do? And yeah, thoughts will come up, as you're doing this stimulus minimum thing. Call it meditation, call it, minimalism, call it whatever you want. Soul emerging, right? You can give it your own title. And I'll be sure to give it a title to just help people along the way. But it's just like the craziness, that simplicity, that a simple thing can be everything. One single direction can help with every direction, right? I like to imagine the soul as like a 3D sphere. This is what's clarified and expanded over time. This soul, where just in existing, just having existing being your job, stimulus minimum, existing, like that's your job. Things will come up inevitably from the soul. Heart, soul, intuition, voice of God, right? I consider all of these things as synonymous, where these things are emerging inevitably. They want to be clarified. They want to be transcended. They want to be composted, so that at the end of it, things are being composted, transcended, clarified. You are understanding more about yourself. And then once that process is gone, 1 time, 2 times, 10, 20 plus times, more clarified, you're taking the shit, you're composting it, you're turning it into something that you really actually want, that you enjoy, that is really actually you. Once you're understanding who you are more and more, you're like, fuck yeah, this is fucking awesome. And then that gives you the masculine aspect of expanding. So we could say the inner feminine aspect is clarifying, composting, organizing. The stuff is composted, and then things start growing as the masculine aspect comes forward in saying, cool, I know more of who I am now because I can see it more clearly. It's more clarified. Let's expand. Right? So, whether as a man you're more masculine or feminine, you can relate to both of those aspects from the get-go, and then you can realize that balance is necessary. Let's go. Right? And then the expanding aspect, in short, right? I've explained it in other videos, but in short, maybe I can dedicate a video just to clarifying and just to expanding later. Perhaps. So the expanding aspect is, all right, I know I like this, I know I like that, I know I like doing this, I know I like doing that. Let's do more of it. Let's stack. Let's enhance. Let's do it. And then you're doing that more and more and more. And then this is the inevitable ebb and flow of life, where it's like you're stack, expanding. And then you're refining, right? You're doing more clarifying and composting when you're like, all right, I've been stacking, I've been expanding all of this, but this is actually inefficient. This is actually, the more that I'm niching down, this aspect of it actually isn't me. Okay, this isn't me, but this other stuff is me, so I don't have to, compost that. I don't have to turn that shit into gold, because this shit is the shit. This is already gold. I want to expand this gold, right? Like it's just like a gold mine tree or whatever. So, like my tree analogy in other videos where, okay, let's throw out these rotting apples, these decaying apples. They aren't nourishing myself and other people. I need to, get back into my roots, do more stimulus minimum. I like that. I like that better than the word meditation. But anyway, to get back into that, throw out all the decaying, rotting apples so that, kind of like weeding in a garden. Like you're pulling all the crap out, putting it in a pile, composting it, and then you're using that as fertilizer as the apples that are already nourishing for yourself and for others are getting more and more nourished because we're getting better and better fertilizer, and then we're getting newer and better ideas. Cool, new apple. This is the most delicious apple yet because I'm doing this nutrient cycling where it's like, take out the bull crap, use it as fertilizer, keep the good stuff gets better, and the worst stuff turns into the catalyzing zone, the catalyst zone, where new things can happen, and then, here's a new thing that's even better than the other stuff, which is already good. Newer, better, all the time. It's awesome. And this is clearly symbolic for our own life. But we gotta do it. But we gotta put in the work. And just a quick side note before we wrap this one up. We have to watch out for routines and diligence and discipline having diminishing returns, where it's like, if the gusto's not in it, or we're just going through the motions, if the gusto's not in it, then you need to switch gears with your discipline. All right? If you're feeling like lower and lower energy-wise about whatever discipline it is, you really need to look at that. You really need to shift gears. You need to compost some of that stuff. You need to keep the flow going, right? Where it's like, we have inevitable ebbs and flows, but the ebbs and flows should be slowly going upward over time, right? So in these down points, that's the perfect time to regroup, to shift, to switch gears, to do all these things, where it's like, look, I like what I'm doing, I like the direction that I'm going, but like I'm in a downswing. I need to look at this, and I need to do some revamping. I need to do some composting. I need to do some fertilizing. Some new stuff needs to come up after I compost and fertilize the stuff. I want some new stuff to come up so that I feel refreshed, renewed. And my disciplines, my daily, weekly stuff that is challenging but worth it to me, that I keep doing, but in different ways, and I keep getting better, stronger in more ways than one. Let's go. So yeah, that's just a side note. I'm just watching out for your daily, weekly routines, your disciplines. You gotta watch out for being in low energy downward spirals where you're losing the meaning, the why, the fulfillment. So just watch out for that. So yeah, my man. So yeah, we are keeping that balance in mind. Men, don't be afraid of the feminine energy within us, because the more we live life, the more that we may realize that the internal stuff, the heart and soul based stuff, is necessary And if we're not catering to it, long story short, we're fucking up. We're imbalanced, and we need a revamp. We need a refresh. We need a soul resuscitation. I'm honored to bring this information, this content, these realizations, this inspiration forth so that we can do our absolute best and keep doing it. Much respect to you, much respect to us for surviving, for doing it up, for living the best life, doing better and better and better, composting, transcending, fertilizing, and nourishing ourselves and our very good people in our lives. This is Mr. Mike. Catch you later.